Hey, I'm Sean,
Hi, and I'm Shannon.
and we're the host of Wifey and Baby Mama. Welcome back, family. It's always a pleasure
Yes.
to connect with you all. And we're going to get right into it. Tonight's topic is titled, Have You Been Marked Safe? And no, we're not talking about the natural disasters. We're referring to the storms of love and life. This topic
Mm,
kind of correlates to our last two topics, children for checks, male gold diggers, in a sense, because just like we wanted people to be cautious and aware of others looking to use and abuse your love for financial reasons, tonight's topic is along those lines. Because even when financial gain isn't the motive, people will still play with you for a title, a place to
yeah.
stay, anything else, that they can get
Mm,
out of you with actually putting in the work of commitment towards a relationship.
right.
So, when we say, Have you been marked safe? We're referring to your heart and mental health. Sometimes
Hmm.
we're just tired of waiting, tired of the waiting game or seeing our friends in happy relationship and marriages. We're blinded by the first person that shows us attention, but is it genuine? And that's our concern. We're not necessarily talking about marriage attention, although we always make it clear that at a certain age, that most certainly should be the goal. But
It
in this
should be.
form, yeah, yeah. But in this form, starting with just the commitment stage. Another thing we've said before is while we wait for our special someone or our forever person, ladies and gentlemen, we should be living our best lives, being good to ourselves.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah, because it's a known fact. We teach people how to treat us, right? But
Yep.
by what we allow and how we treat ourselves. Now, I have to say on this topic, I know someone out there talking about, I know she ain't talking the way she got took down through there a few times. I did. And that's exactly why I'm talking. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it was a comedian. I forgot which one who said when it comes to safe sex, and how to do it right, I don't want to hear from Magic Johnson. I want to hear from Wilt Chamberlain. Now, Magic, don't hear this and think I'm coming for you. You're my man.
Right,
Actually,
right.
one of my all-time favorites. But I
Hmm.
dig the reference. Magic was very
Hmm.
open and honest with the world, when he announced being diagnosed with HIV. So in a
Hmm.
sense, the comedian was saying he didn't do it right. He was married and just maybe stepped out a time or two when he got with Wilt Chamberlain. It was a known fact how many women that he had, right? But he was
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
diagnosed as far as we know,
As
which
far as we
means
know.
he was fortunate to escape the STD, at least that one anyway. So
Hmm.
with the
Hmm.
stigma it had at the time. So my point is, you should want to hear from someone who's lived it, who's lived that life, and can tell you how to
Yes.
elevate from it or to avoid it altogether. And if you know
Right.
me personally, or if you read my book, I used to get my little heart broke over and over and over.
Hmm.
And for the most part, it was
Oh.
on me though. Yeah, it was sad, but for the most part, it was on me. I
Hmm.
can be woman enough to say that now, but I didn't see it back then. I thought if I was,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, good to these guys and if they were good looking and charming and popular and they were showing me all that attention, then they must love me. So I'm
Mhm.
going to claim them, as my man.
Mhm.
And then boom, 6 months, 2 years later, my little heart broken and I'm sick. Literally,
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
to learn over the years that I was responsible for guarding my own heart.
That's
And
right.
until it was safe to share it with someone, safe to love
Mhm.
someone else that felt exactly the same way I did and is invested as much as I would, then I just kept myself safe. And that's how I arrived
Mhm.
at the place that I am now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a lot of our listeners know because I say it all the time, I'm a little different, a little odd, strange person. But my first, high school sweetheart, he dumped me for a girl that was putting out. Because
Mhm.
I was in high school. I'm like, no. And so he's
Right.
like, well, but he was honest. I'm like, wow, here we are. I think we were 16. I'm like, here we are 16. And he's like, yeah, well, if you ain't going to do it, I'm going to get this person. And I remember I fell apart and I felt like I was on All My Children or something. you know, I'm like, this is over the top dramatic, even for me. So ever since then, I probably had a minor couple of heartaches, throughout the years, but nothing major, or whatever. But what keeps me from even acting or feeling some type of way, I keep thinking to that 16-year-old girl. I mean, when I tell you, you would have thought I lost every member of my family.
You
And
know, but it's funny, but it's not. But that's how it feels, especially at that
right, right,
age.
right.
I
Yep.
get it. It feels like your whole life is over, and then now having
Mhm.
our own kids, we when they go through their things
Yeah.
and they like so distraught, you're like, if you don't get the heck out of here, but you got to remember. I think me and another girlfriend of mine was discussing that this week with she's having issues with her daughter and this guy. I was like, you got to remember when we were that age, how
Oh,
attached we
yeah.
were, and no one could tell us anything about our man child. But what I think we look at as a difference is we grew up in a different era. Like I told you how my mom was like she was carefree. My friend
Yeah.
said she worked a lot.
Yeah.
But her mom worked a lot, so she didn't really give her a lot of attention, not in a bad way. She just had to work a couple of jobs because her father wasn't in the home. But in our
Mhm.
sets, I think and Shannon, even you and I discuss this sometimes with your son and my older kids. The mothers
Mhm.
we were, I don't understand. Like we didn't have the guidance, We
Nope.
like were out on limbs. We didn't have
Yep.
the direction that we gave our kids. So we just
Mhm.
look at them like, what the hell? Like we did all we could.
Right. Yep.
But guess what?
Yep.
What you just said is what I'm trying to get to with all that. When we get frustrated with our kids, we can say it many times as we want. Don't do that. The heart does what it wants. It does what it wants to do.
It
So that's
does.
why
Yeah.
it's very very imperative to keep it safe, to keep your heart safe.
Mhm.
Because I'm
Yeah.
telling you, you can say this, no, this ain't nothing. It's a little boyfriend, girlfriend, and the
Mhm.
next thing you
And
know, you somewhere rolling on the floor crying.
yep. Yep. And don't lie to yourselves either, people. It'd be like, oh no, I really don't care about this person. And I get this a lot from my son.
Hmm.
There'll be a particular girl, and oh no, no, I'm not feeling her like that. No, no, no. But as soon as it's over, he's a little down. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought you weren't feeling her. I thought she wasn't all that, whatever. So it's like, be honest with yourself. That's how you
That's
protect
it.
your heart as well. you know, it's
And
like if you
and
like,
it's and
hmm
yeah, if you like them, you like them, and like we said,
yeah.
date. If you're not
Mhm,
married, date as many people if you
mhm,
want, but don't get attached if you know it's not a safe situation. And
mhm,
that leads me into this point. You have these women. I mean, what you said makes me think about this point. You have these women in the same way as like your son, who know these guys are involved, right? They have children and all,
mhm.
but they still decide, well, when he's with me, he's mine.
Oh,
There's no such a
yeah.
thing. If
Yeah,
that
no
man
such
is
thing.
committed to anyone else
Mhm,
in any kind of way,
mhm.
he's not yours.
Right.
Not
That's
saying he
right.
can't be a father with kids and be responsible to his kids. Don't miss me. But if this man
Mhm.
is still dating the mother, occasionally spends the night with her, they still
Mm.
do their thing just because of the kids, well, he's not yours.
Nope,
And you're sharing.
not at all. Yep.
And sharing is not safe, people. It will be
No.
all good if you two are together, right? It'd be all good when y'all together.
Mhm.
Then what happens when you see him in the family, right? Just like you just said, a special occasion, you guys end up in the same restaurant. He's out with the wife and kids, and you just happen to run
Mm.
into them. One of two things are going to happen. You're going to act out, which embarrasses yourself, him, and his family,
Uh-huh.
or you'll suffer in silence, as I often did, because I didn't want to ruin what I had. Not knowing at the
Yeah.
time, being young and naive, I had nothing. I had nothing,
Mhm.
okay? We had
Mhm.
nothing. But again, I had convinced myself that I didn't want to be alone. So I allowed myself to be
Right.
hurt over and over again by someone else when all along I had the power to make me happy. I had the power to keep
Exactly.
me sustained, and I had the power to keep me safe, right?
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
And just wait in peace while
Right.
whatever was meant to be for me, came to me. And it's not just
Mhm.
women who experience this, like you just said with your son. Now we can give
Right.
a woman's point of view, but I've had a couple of male friends also who put themselves in this situation, right? I'm just gonna do what I
Yeah.
do with her, she got a family, and I had to tell them that woman doesn't love you. If she's allowing you to
Mhm.
hang around and linger, she don't care about you.
Mm-mm.
She
Not at
knows you're
all.
waiting, and
Right.
that's just sad, if not worse.
Mhm.
For some reason, when I see a good man getting messed over, it makes me, I think, madder than a woman
I
because
know, I know.
I know, because I'm thinking, like, you know how hard it is to find a man that will show up, Shannon?
Uh-huh. Oh,
How
yeah.
many women I hear complain that men don't show up for them, and that's part of the reason. Once they've experienced
Mm.
this and they get over it, it takes most men a very long time,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
to show that kind of
yeah.
love again before they open themselves
Mhm.
up like that. So either they
Right.
shut
Yep.
down or they become that man that we all want to stay away from, right? Because they set out to make every woman pay for that pain that one woman caused.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I have to say, I bring up my husband, and my husband, people let me back up. So, people look at me and say, "Oh, she's, quiet and soft-spoken or whatever," and I am. However, I am tough as nails when it comes to, uh, I don't know, I'm
Your
just a
heart.
fierce person, yeah. Whereas my husband, he wears his heart on his sleeve. Every emotion, you're gonna know it. You don't ever have to second guess. So he is very open about his love and how he feels. But it took a minute, I'm sorry, for him to get there because he had dealt with so much hurt before in the past. And
Mhm.
that damage that it did to him, of course, I don't know if it's a guy thing or just human thing. I don't know. I guess I'd have to talk to, some guys and see. But his view of every woman
Was the
was
same.
total, yeah, it was totally bad. I mean, it was like, I'm like, for a long time too, I would say, "Do you like women?" And he was like,
Right.
"I love women." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Until we started, peeling back the layers. So there was just, hurt after hurt after hurt. And I'm like, "Okay, so we got to work on that one because you can't look at me like I did it because
Right.
I
That's
wasn't
right.
here."
And
Yeah.
I
So
think
we,
that's a conversation, to be honest, that most
hmm,
people, and I'm not just, it's not a racial statement, please, this
yeah,
word, you got to
yeah,
be very careful. But most
yeah.
people of color, and I can only say that because I'm a person of color, right? I'm not white, I'm not Puerto
Hmm.
Rican, I'm not Asian, I'm a woman of
Right.
color. Most couples, most people of color, they are dealing with layers. And a conference I went
Yeah.
to a couple of weeks ago talked about that, how you have to go through all of these layers. Even at work, you have to go through all these layers to get to the actual person because it's just been so much stuff. We just carry so much
Mhm.
stuff. And it's just
Yeah.
known that you will bring that into the next relationship. Like it's almost inevitable. So that's why it's imperative to keep yourself safe. You know, that's the
Mhm.
topic tonight. And and think about it. Before you hurt another person like that, for your own selfish reasons and vice versa, people, we have to assess and say, does this person have good intention? Is their talk
Right.
matching their walk? Do they walk off or shy away, when we're in public? Are they consistent? Are you picking up the
Mhm.
tab constantly? These are all signs, people, that you
Mhm.
can watch for before you get into yourself into these situations that you gotta dig your way out of, right? Remember, it's
Right.
not just on the other person to protect you. It starts with you.
Mhm.
So watch for the sign. I mean, I can give a class on that, and I'm not kidding. I'll
Yeah.
allow people to play with my heart for far too long before I realize what
Mhm.
I'm saying to you all today, in this podcast. Make
Yeah,
sure to
and
put some time into it.
mhm. And now that you say that too, Sean, I'm like light bulbs are going off because maybe I was marking myself too safe because of
That's
what
a
happened at
fact.
16.
Yeah, that can happen too. And I'm going to tell you,
Mhm.
you and your my husband and your baby daddy should probably go to
Mhm.
counseling together because he's
Yeah.
he's the exact same way. We had a conversation to I'm telling you, I was about to leave him because I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
get it. I love you.
Mhm.
He pays the bills, he takes care of the kids. If I
Mhm.
said I'm walking
Right.
to the corner, he's like, wait a minute, let me put your shoes on. But when it comes to emotions and holding my hand, he shied away. And I'm
Mm.
like, I don't feel any love here. I said,
Mhm.
I don't know what it is. Like he showed me the signs that he loved me,
Yeah.
by his actions. But when it came to physical touch and an emotion, kisses goodnight,
Mhm.
I'm like,
Yep.
what is
Yep.
this? And
Right.
finally
Right.
one day I just said, I'm leaving you. Like we had no argument. And he's like, what the heck? What? I said, I don't feel loved here. He's like, what do you mean? So I started telling him all the things I just said. And he said, I'm
Mhm.
sorry. He said, you hurt me so bad the first time. I'm just playing it safe. I just can't afford that again.
Yeah.
And that
Mhm.
thing took me out. I'm like ready to leave
Oh.
him about something I'm not feeling. And the whole time
Mhm.
it's what he's still feeling from
Mhm.
15, 16 years ago. And I was
Right.
like, wow. I mean, so Shannon, it's possible to mark yourself too safe. And I'm like, brother,
Right.
you gotta let that go. And it wasn't
Mhm.
overnight. but we prayed about it, we screamed about it, we cried about it,
Mhm.
we took rides and
Yeah.
walks, and
Yeah.
we've gotten over the hump. But I'm
Mhm.
telling you, it's a real thing to mark yourself too safe. And he
Yeah.
had.
It is.
He
It
loved me.
is.
He cared. He
Mhm.
provided for me. But he just wasn't willing at that time. He said, I can't afford that again.
Mhm.
And I was
Right.
like, whoa, you know? So
Right.
yeah,
Yep. So
you
so
could
that
have been all those
explains.
years.
Yeah, that's probably why I did keep
You don't want to feel
everybody at
that
arm's
again.
length. Yeah, I'm like, "No,
You
you're
didn't
not
want to
getting
feel that
close to
again.
me."
You're
Right.
getting close to me. I feel you though. And like I said, you put some time into it, right?
Mhm.
Don't just jump in with both feet, but don't just allow people to tell you, "Oh, I'm good. I'm the man. I make this much. This is where I live. They show you this nice house, and then boom, we're together." No, because people can put on a facade, really.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
you put your time into it, Shannon. You know why? Because you got to make sure they are who they say they are. Because people
That's
can only
right.
act for so long. Initially, that
Mhm.
real person is going to show up.
Right.
So you give it some time. Don't go falling head over heels because
Mm.
they are saying and doing, and their actions may be matching their words. But again, people put on very good facades, and you'll find yourself all in love, and you fell in love with this perception of a person. Their
Right.
representative. The actual person
Yeah,
don't show up till later on. And so we have to be
exactly.
careful when we're marking ourselves saves not to fall for that either. Not just the bad
Right.
qualities. And if sometimes what they say, if it's too good to be true, it usually is.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
then sometimes you have those men and women that are just really good, and that's just what it is. But that's
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
time and patience come in.
Mhm. Yeah. And don't be a red flag collector, like a lot of people are. They see all the signs up front. Like you said, people show you who they are. And if you choose not to believe them, then don't get mad with your pocket full of red flags. I'm like,
She said a
or
red
our
flag
point.
collector. Now I've never heard that one. I'm gonna have to use it, a red flag collector. Okay, I gotta write that down because I got some sayings, girl. You done got me tonight. I'm usually not stumped. That's hilarious. But I'm happy you said red flag, Shannon, because have you
Mhm.
seen the Housewives? I'm sure everybody knows Atlanta Housewives, Portia,
Mhm.
and she married Simon, which was someone else's husband, right? When
Right.
she
Yep.
initially got involved with him. But
Mhm.
she did a live the other day and said how well he treats her. And she looks, I love, first of all, I don't know about that, Portia. I wasn't there. You're on the outside looking in. I can't give my opinion. I just don't
Yeah.
play like that. But they
Right.
look
Yeah.
genuinely happy together, and she my girl.
Okay.
So it is what it is,
Okay.
because that's my boo.
Okay.
I love her. I think I love the fact that she was so dizzy, and she knows she dizzy. So that's why I love
Yes,
her.
she
She
is.
don't pretend.
Yep.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
she be like, "Did I say that right?" And I'm like, "Oh, I love her. I love her life." But that one
Yeah.
kind of took me aback, right? And then she got off the show, and I'm like, "Okay, that was real suspect." But anyways, she did a
Mhm.
live the other day, and she said, "My husband makes me so happy, and he shows up for me, and she, like I said, she looks, and he even looks like genuinely happy, like they look really good
Oh,
together."
okay.
But she
Okay.
said, "Be careful of," she said, "My husband had red flags, but they were not for me." And you know what? At first, I'm
Oh.
like, "Girl, wait a minute now." We podcasters, and I'm an author, and I've been in law enforcement for almost 20 years. Like I analyze
Mhm.
everything, right? So I'm like,
Mhm.
if he
Mhm.
has red flags, then that's who he is. And that's what my first initial assessment of her live was. And I'm like, wait a minute though.
Mhm.
Maybe that means it could also mean he had red flags that just were not for me. Maybe he doesn't have red flags at all. Maybe he didn't just
Yeah.
come into the man he is now until he met the woman he wanted to be with,
True.
which is exactly what happened with my husband. I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
if I took a poll, if I had a poll long enough to find out when my ex-husband had dated and stuff, I could sit them all and they could probably all give me a million red flags and reasons why, oh no, girl, oh baby, no. And I could even go poll the 19-year-old that was with him for those 7, 8 years, right? And it wouldn't
Mhm.
be the same man that I have right now.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep.
It doesn't mean he wasn't guilty of all the things. It doesn't mean he didn't do everything that they're gonna say or I said he did but
Mhm.
when it was time to show up for the woman that requested him, or you got to get the hell
Mhm.
on, he showed up. So I was
Right.
like, oh, because I was like, okay, Portia, don't fool yourself now. So he had red flags, and I'm like, see, but it's two sides to everything. And
That's
when I
true.
analyzed that thing that second time,
Mhm.
maybe he didn't
Mhm.
have red flags. Maybe I'm just not
Mhm.
doing it because you're not the woman for me.
Right.
Period.
Yep.
Like it's
Yep.
no digger deeping. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Right.
women and men, this show is for both of you guys. You have to assess that thing. Maybe they're not showing up because that's just not your person. And maybe they're
Yeah.
not showing up because it's an issue like you said, Shannon. You had to sit down with your husband. I had to sit down with my husband and say, what's going on here? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And you just resolve the issue. But it's up, each
Right.
individual situation is different. So I'm going to wrap it up with a point that we repeat commonly on this show, a worst case scenario, right? When it comes to this topic. Some people, Shannon, are not mentally safe
Yeah.
to handle that kind of pain,
Mhm.
especially when it's intentional. And when I say
Right.
intentional, I mean you knew from the beginning you didn't want forever with that man or woman, or
Mhm.
even cared enough to even give them the decency of monotony, right? The
Right.
important thing for you at this time was to make sure you felt good. And I want to ask Shannon, have you heard the story going around about the woman who was separated from her husband and she got involved in this lesbian affair with another woman and had her a
Mm-mm.
good time, honey, lived her best life, and then decided, I'm going back to my husband and children. See you, peace. The
Oh, no, I
woman
hadn't heard it.
that you heard, it's been going around this
Mm.
week, and the woman
Oh,
that she
wow.
left supposedly hired a hitman, right? Had him FaceTime her, had him line up this girl's whole family on the couch, and they had 4 children. So I'm not sure if all the kids were home. I don't know who of the family was home, but whoever was
Yeah.
home, he lined them up on the couch and shot them in their head one by one.
Oh my goodness.
And
That's
she wanted
awful.
to see it. She had
Mm.
him FaceTime her.
Mm,
Then the
mm,
lady,
mm.
who supposedly put the hit out said, I know they have money in the house and whatever is there. So she told him basically, I want you to put, like she's fed it to him like a robbery, right? I want you
Mhm.
to go in and rob him and kill him. And, it's a whatever
Mm.
amount of money there. I don't know if it was a
Right.
significant amount or not. You know how they give you skimpy details. But when it was done, she told him, now you keep all the money. I just wanted to see them all die.
Oh
You know what
my
kind of sickness or
gosh.
pain
Yeah.
or both, that had to
Mm,
be
mhm.
for somebody to do
Yeah.
something that awful.
Mhm.
And you know why I told that story? Not to gross nobody out or break nobody's heart. It's important people to know who you're engaging with.
That's
So
right.
you can be
That
sure
is so
you
true.
and your loved ones are marked safe from all forms of harm and not just heartache,
Mm,
but danger too. Because this lady decided that she wanted to go out here and, do something she wanted to do because she just wasn't happy at home instead of sticking around and working it out. You put your whole family in jeopardy. And now the
mhm.
people you were supposed to keep safe, you put them dead in the line of fire. So,
Right.
family, please make sure you're marking yourself safe, but make sure you're making good decisions so everyone else around you is safe too.
That's right. Love that, Sean.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to move into the red line for tonight. All right. This week's red line is titled Don't Take Yourself Off the Shelf. Ladies and
Okay.
gentlemen, don't allow anyone to gaslight you and convince you to talk yourself off the shelf, right? And by that I mean
Mhm.
lower your standards. Just to say I have
Mhm.
a man or I have a woman. We shouldn't water down the true version of ourselves to fit inside someone else's box. We always
Mm,
discuss the proper way to carry on in life, right? No matter if you're single or dating. But until that right man or woman comes along with good intentions, a pure heart, a plan for the future that includes both you and them, stay single, date, have fun.
mhm.
And when it's right, it won't be perfect, but don't force it. Let it
Don't
come
force it.
naturally. Don't force it.
Mhm.
Don't take yourself off the shelf, people.
Don't do it.
Let your proper king or queen come along and take their place.
Right. And like Sean said, like you just said, Sean, making sure you get to know, the person that you're dealing with before you move too fast.
That's it. Don't take yourself off the shelf until everything is in order. And I'm gonna tell
That's
you,
right.
you ever heard that song? No, listen to your heart. I don't know who
Oh
sings that,
yeah.
but you
Yeah.
really have to listen to your heart. Listen to your
Mhm.
soul. It will tell you because sometimes that old heart will get you in trouble. But if you just listen to that still small voice, it'll tell you like this is it, and it'll also tell
Mhm.
you beep 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 beep. And sometimes we'll just turn that sound right off. We got to listen
Yeah,
to
that
those warnings. We have internal signals for a
mhm.
reason, guys, and we have to listen to them. So
Yeah,
don't turn off your warning and then get yourself off the shelf because if they really love you, they'll have enough to entice you to bring you down. They'll have
that's
enough
right.
love to make you want to float down. Don't go jumping off
Uh-huh.
for the wrong person.
That's right. Mhm.
All
Excellent
right.
red line.
Thank you.
All right. So tonight for our fictional family, let's see our fictional family that Sean is feeling tonight. So I have asked Sean to um, present our fictional family tonight because it's from Waiting to Excel to exhale. And I'll let her, set it up. But um, it just tied in so perfectly. I said, Sean, you have to do this. And she's like,
Set
oh,
me
no, I'm
right
not
up.
letting you off the
Yeah,
hook.
set me right up.
But it's beautiful. So, yes, go right ahead. And thank you so much, Sean, for
You're
this
welcome,
fictional
darling.
family that you're feeling.
Well, I got you. You're going to pay me back.
Okay,
But,
I
anyways,
will.
as Shannon stated, our fictional family for tonight comes from a scene in Waiting to Exhale. And this is Shannon's segment, and she's so articulate and she's so good with the names and setting up her families. I don't know these people' name, y'all, but y'all know I know me a movie. But I'm going to set it up for you. And when I do, y'all going to know exactly who I'm talking about. So, Bernie was the lady. She was Angela Bassett's character. And because he was
Mm-hmm.
only and for a short glimpse, Wesley Snipes' character was
Yeah.
the love interest who really they wasn't in love. It was one scene that they had. But the reason
Mm-hmm.
Shannon and I chose this scene is at the end, after she goes to divorce court and she's found out she's lost everything she ever knew, and the man she's loved and bared these kids for and set up his background and got him all accomplished, left her in her words, for a white woman. And that just devastated
Yeah.
her. Because as
Yeah.
a black woman, I've given up my whole life to make sure you are who you are. And you didn't even have the decency to bring another sister along for the ride after I set you up. She was
Right.
insulted, right? I'm just setting it
Mm-hmm.
up, y'all. Now, this is how it went. So she's at the bar, she's steaming, she's chilling and still being cool. And he says, I don't know who you are, but you're wonderful. She says, oh yeah. He said, yeah, I can tell that with one look in your eyes. So she goes, look, I've never done this before. And they talk and they do their thing. And eventually they make it upstairs to the room because, he's staying in a hotel. He was in town for a conference. He didn't live in the city she lived in.
Oh.
And once they got upstairs and they start talking and things heat up, he says, it's something I want to tell you. And she goes, oh, yeah. He's like, how I was telling you that my wife is dying and the woman, and you were telling me how the woman your husband's leaving you for is a white woman. She says, yeah. He said, well, so is my wife. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that was beautiful that he gave her that. Like he didn't just go have
Mm-hmm.
sex with her. He didn't engage with
Mm-hmm.
her and he didn't lead her on. He didn't know this woman from a can of paint. He could have did what
Mm-hmm.
he did and never saw her again, right? But he recognized the brokenness. She was already broken. And as a grown
Right.
man, he didn't feel the need to take advantage of that. And so he said, what do you want to do tonight? And he said, make tonight special or make tonight beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then they show the scene and he says, do you still want to stay with me? She said, you might want to leave after this. And she said, no, I want to stay. And the next scene they show, she said, it just hurts like hell. And the next scene they show them
Oh.
fully clothed in the bed, cuddling, just making each other feel better, just safe in each
Mm-hmm.
other's arms. And you think like
Right.
that's it, right? And then at the end of the movie, she gets a letter in the mail from him saying, I haven't stopped thinking about you. I looked you up, and no matter what, I love my wife, but nothing I feel for you undercuts what I feel for her. Now, how is that? And I thought that was so beautiful that
Mm.
somehow it's a movie, right? But this is life.
Right.
Somehow he marked her safe that night. He didn't allow her to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But he wanted her to know
Mm-hmm.
that you also marked me safe by giving me the intimacy. And when my wife is gone, because she was dying of cancer, they
Mm-hmm.
were both already marked safe for each other. I just thought that
Right.
was absolutely beautiful. So I
Yes.
picked that scene. We picked that scene, and Shannon was like, "I ain't gonna be able to set it up like that. You gotta run it." So no, I would have told her no in general, y'all, but I wanted to do it for the reason that I thought that was so beautiful. It wasn't a perfect situation
Mm-hmm.
by far, but even in
Right.
the midst of both of their pain, God still had something else waiting. Now, again, it's a
Mhm.
movie, but we all know it happens every day if
Yes,
you
it
just
does.
wait. We don't know how, we don't know when, but
Mhm.
you can believe his plans for us are always good. So that's the
Always.
fictional family we are feeling for tonight.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Sean, and I owe you big time.
All right, well, you can pay me by telling the red line submissions and taking us out.
Yes, our red line submissions. Um, if you would like to win a $100 gift card, please submit your red lines to wifeyandbabymama@gmail.com. Every third Thursday, we will announce a winner and read their red line submission on the show. And that person whose ever submission we read, they will receive a $100 gift card. I know there's somebody out there that could use $100, so
Sure enough.
please, yeah, yeah. So
This
please
gas go up
submit.
one more time.
Right.
One more time.
So one more time, send your red line submission, wifey and babymama@gmail.com. We look forward to reading them. All right, and now we have come to the end of our show. We thank you all for, um, listening to us and going with the flow, as we kind of, switch things up sometimes. We appreciate all of our listeners around the globe. We thank
Absolutely.
you for tuning in every Thursday, and we
Your
look forward.
faithfulness.
Yes, very
The
faithful.
faithfulness. Yes.
Yes. So we look forward to next week. Um, Everyone, enjoy your um, weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
Love you all.
Bye.